Hello there, fellow Star Wars nerds, and welcome to Unlimited Content, the podcast where two brothers talk about all of Star Wars film and TV in chronological order on the internet as an excuse to hang out more. We're your hosts, Sam and Jack, and this week we are talking about The Clone Wars, Season 1, Episode 16, The Hidden Enemy.
The Hidden
Sam,
Enemy?
how are you today?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm doing better now that I'm talking to my brother.
Heck yeah.
On the internet, as an excuse to hang out more about Star Wars.
About Star Wars.
Some sequence of words in that order is our thing that we say.
In chronological order.
Chronological
order.
Well, I guess we'll get to it. This week's episode of Unlimited Content is brought to you by Unkar Plutz Scrapyards. We're not just the best deal in town, we're the only deal in town.
Unkar Plutz.
Played by Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
In heavy prosthetics.
In heavy prosthetics. How many portions do we get for this this episode, Jack? How many portions is he giving us?
1/4 portion.
1/4 portion.
60 portions for the droid.
Yeah. A portion. Like I was when I saw that movie, I would think that a portion was like a meal.
I think, it was like one of those little bread things that they inflate with water.
So a quarter portion is like a quarter of a meal.
It's like a snack.
Yeah.
It's a snack.
Yeah.
It's a little snack.
Yeah, here's your dinner roll. That's your quarter portion. So, man.
Yeah. 60 portions is 2 months of dinners.
2 months of dinners. And it's not even breakfast or lunches.
It's 20 days.
20 days
meals,
of food.
basically.
For BB-8.
That's a lot.
For BB-8.
Yeah. But you know what? Friendship prevails.
BB-8, you're worth at least 4 weeks of food to me.
And also stealing a ship.
Yeah.
At least.
At least 4 weeks of food. Oh, man. Jack, how you doing? What have you been up to? What's going on? Tell me about your life. What have you been watching, reading, playing, etc., etc., etc.?
Well, a lot of Star Wars things. Because, as we talked about, Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out at the end of April.
Ooh.
And also this past week was May the 4th, was Star Wars Day, so we got a bunch of stuff they released on that day. But I guess I'll start out by talking about Jedi Survivor, because I did finish it. I beat the story mode.
Whoa!
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I thought it was really fun, and I have my criticisms of it, sure, but like overall, I would say it's my favorite Star Wars game that I've played.
Wow.
I know there are... and to be fair, I have not played a ton of Star Wars games. Most of the Star Wars games I've played are the Star Wars Jedi series, so this one, and the Lego Star Wars games, and I remember playing some Star Wars Battlefront 2, like the original.
Yeah,
I also played through
one.
the campaign of and then I played through the campaign of the modern Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that. It was good. I had a decent story to it.
Nice.
But I have yet to play Knights of the Old Republic, which I've heard from many people. That game and its sequel are among the best Star Wars games ever made. Some people include them among the best games ever made, period. And so that's been on my list of to play for quite a while.
Yeah, I've started Knights of the Old Republic, but it's so hard. Like, just to get past the beginning, like the intro to the game, I guess is really long, and I haven't really got past this that first kind of part where you're starting to build up your party and go around. So it's tough, but the story seemed intriguing, and I was excited to kind of get into it. But I have not been able to.
That's what I've heard. Is that that's what BioWare is, the studio that made those games, and they are known for their narrative, their characters, and their role playing. You know, your ability to really make choices that drive the story and are, give you interesting choices. Yeah, so that's cool. But yeah, older games sometimes do not pull their punches with difficulty. Plus, they just often don't have the same modern conveniences of we've kind of, for example, we've kind of worked out how first-person camera controls work, but if you go back and play something like GoldenEye or one of those older games, using the original controls, it's man, this is rough. How do we play games like this? Yeah,
man.
But yeah, Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, so you like it overall?
Yes.
I know it takes place around the same year as Kenobi.
Yes, around the same time.
Is there any overlap? Do you ever get to see Obi-Wan in it? Just because we know he's alive and kind of active at the same time.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, spoilers, obviously, but like, no, you don't see Obi-Wan.
Okay.
There's no overlap there.
I kind of figured.
Like, it's weird prefacing with this is a spoiler, but X thing is not in this game.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of not a spoiler, but it also kind of is, because like it does affect your expectations going in.
Yeah.
But no, like so yeah, it does not. We don't get to see Obi-Wan, no. But there's a lot of great character moments in this game. A lot of beautiful locales and some incredible like action sequences. There's a one particular sequence on one of the planets you go to is Jeddah. From Rogue One.
Nice.
And you spend a lot of time on that planet, and there's one particular like action set piece sequence that is one of the coolest like AAA action sequences I've seen in quite a while. Like it's like something out of like the Uncharted games, but in the Star Wars universe, so it's all Star Warsy, and it's very cool. I won't go into any more about it than that, but it's just, man, it's a very, very cool moment. There's a lot of cool moments, especially near the kind of the middle and late game of this game. There's just so many cool things that happen.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of like stuff that you get to do in this game that are just kind of added systems and sort of mini games on the side that you can do. So early on, you come to this planet and you come into basically to a saloon that you get to build out. The saloon is there, but essentially it's all run down, and as you explore the world, you can meet these different NPCs and say, hey, you could come back to our saloon and set up shop there, or you should come hang out in our settlement. And over time, you build up like a little community of people from all across the galaxy or mostly across this planet, but who come back, and every time you recruit a new person, it's a new person you can talk to back at the saloon. You can have them as basically new shopkeepers inside the saloon, and they open up a new like store where you can buy new items for your character and things like that. And it's just really cool to see the diversity of characters in this game. And not all of that was for me. There is you can unlock a garden on top of the saloon.
Really?
And you can collect like seeds for plants from various planets throughout the game and bring them back there, and then like build out your garden. And as far as I know, there's no like gameplay advantage, or like you don't get like new abilities for your character or bonuses or anything from doing this gardening thing. It's just a gardening mini game that you can do if you want, as far as I can tell, and which is cool. Like it's not super my thing, but like it's cool. Yeah.
I'm getting like Chow Garden vibes from like Sonic Adventure 2.
Kinda, yeah.
Or is the first one?
It is very
first or second.
It was in both of them, I think.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's very it is very Chow Garden in that it is a like separate thing that doesn't necessarily affect the main game or the main story or the main gameplay, but it's just extra stuff you can do for fun.
Yeah.
You sure can. Yeah. So yeah, overall I would say it was a great experience. I have, my own critiques about some things, particularly with the story. I mean, the story overall is very good. I thought there's some great writing, and there's some great like character moments. To get into any more specifics of like why I had problems with it, I would have to go into spoilers, and so maybe sometime we'll do like a long form discussion of like going into this game and like the first game, and talk about what I liked and didn't like, and maybe go through it for people who aren't able to play the games because they don't have a console that can run it or something. It's like
me.
Yeah, that might be fun.
Yeah,
like you. Hey. We could talk about it. Like I can just tell you what happens.
You could, yeah. Probably what's gonna happen eventually.
But yeah, no, like the folks at Respawn did an amazing job with this game. It's honestly what is most astonishing to me about it is the fact that they took these disparate elements of like it is a AAA action adventure Uncharted style game, but in an open world Metroidvania type structure and environment and level design. And with the combat of something similar to like Dark Souls. So you've got these three very different sort of ingredients, but they meld them together in a way that works really well, I think. And it's all done inside the Star Wars universe, and they really nailed the look and the feel of Star Wars. It feels and looks like a Star Wars movie, and like you're in that universe.
Nice.
So definitely, if this game seems at all appealing to you, I would highly recommend it. definitely. So
that's awesome.
If you're able to play it,
I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and when we do like a little bonus episode of all this, maybe when we get to it in the chronological order of Star Wars.
In chronological.
Yeah, so that might be a while. But I am excited.
Yeah.
Sweet dude.
Yeah.
Been reading anything else?
So that's the main thing I've been playing. Is I just beat that a couple days ago. I did pre-order Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, just to make sure that I could pick up a copy on launch day.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. Comes out in 4 days from when this is recording, so I guess I just dated this episode, but I'm very excited. Right. And yeah, what are your thoughts and hopes and dreams about Tears of the Kingdom, Sam?
Oh my gosh,
let's have a quick little discussion about that, because I feel like once we start playing the game, it's one of those games where like we're gonna want to talk about it, but we probably shouldn't, because so much of the Breath of the Wild formula is like about discovery, and so I almost don't want to I want to have played a certain amount of the game before I talk about what other people's experiences with it were, because I don't want to be spoiled, but
it might be,
I want to see as much of it for myself as possible, and I feel like other people probably feel the same way.
Yeah, we might need to circle back at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
So dude, I am really excited about this game. I've been trying to avoid, I know there's some gameplay reviews that are up, and I've been trying to kind of avoid those, but I know kind of the general gist of it. It sounds like they've tripled the map of Breath of the Wild, because because it's there's going to be the normal surface level, there's the sky stuff that you're going to be doing that you see in the trailer, and there's also caves and stuff underneath. Yeah,
presumably, because in the first trailer that teased the game, it was all underground, so presumably there's going to be some underground areas and stuff, and then obviously there's the above ground stuff, and I think they also said that the land of Hyrule, the main surface level, has changed quite a bit since the events of the first game. So I'm super excited to explore all of it, and just based on I've seen all the trailers that have come out, but I haven't seen any of the leaks or anything, which I also would want to avoid. Luckily, I don't generally I am not running in the circles online where that stuff comes up for me, at least in my suggestions or anything. But yeah, I am probably gonna even just on launch day, and for probably the next couple days after launch, I'm gonna be staying offline for the most part, just to
that's smart,
so I can preserve the experience as much as possible. But yes, I'm very excited just to have this experience. I don't know what it was like for you playing this game for the first time, playing Breath of the Wild for the first time, that is, because you played it a few years after it had come out.
Yeah, I started it last summer.
Yeah. Whereas I played it in 2017, not at launch, but I played it a few months after it came out. So there was a lot of things that I still didn't know about it. And I remember getting to just the beautiful, of the many beautiful things about that game, the most magical to me is just walking around and running into something and being oh, I didn't know that was in this game. I didn't know that was a mechanic. I didn't know that was a creature I could run into. I didn't know, just all the little moments of discovery and wonder that game creates so frequently. I'm excited to see if they can kind of recreate that in this game, which to an extent, there's whenever you're doing a sequel to a game that is based on discovery and wonder, it's hard to do a sequel because you kind of already know what's coming in some ways. So you really have to add on a lot more to it in order to make it feel kind of the same level or a similar level of kind of novelty and surprise to it. But I feel based on what I have seen, I'm oh, okay, I see how the new things, the new features, the new systems they've added into this game, and the new areas they've added will do a good job of making it full of plenty of surprises to discover this time around too. So I'm very excited.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be quite a Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time kind of jump. So it's definitely going to be a Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting. Also tone wise, from the first trailer, it seemed very sort of creepy and dark, which definitely gave me a Ocarina to Majora transition sort of vibe. Yeah. So yeah, same sort of like world, many of the same mechanics, but like introducing a lot of new ideas and new places to explore. Yeah. So I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah. So I'm stoked. I have no idea when I'm getting my copy delivered, like in the mail. So
Gotcha.
I don't know when it's gonna get here. They said it'll be here within a week of like release day. So like as early as release day, but as late as like a week later. So we'll see when it shows up. I hope it gets here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, waiting. I could not imagine waiting a week for this game. I mean, partly because I'm excited for it, but even more so, like, it's not that I'm like I've waited 6 years for this game. I can wait another week, but it's just the fact that like the places I spend my time online and the people that I hang out with, I am bound to hear people talking about this game like very quickly, and so it's like I need to. Yeah, it's like if I don't get my hands on this game within the first 24 hours, something major is going to be spoiled for me. If I don't,
It's like I might need to like delete TikTok from my phone or something because TikTok knows I'm excited about this game because it keeps getting.
The algorithm knows.
Yeah, because I will like stop and scroll like because I don't know I'm like on Zelda TikTok and music TikTok, like just like musicians. I follow like a ton of musicians on TikTok, and so I'll get like covers of like Zelda music on there. I'm like, oh, this is exciting, and like so I have to like I want to like watch that kind of stuff, but like I also don't want to spoil myself of like Tears of the Kingdom spoilers. So like I have to like if I see something Zelda, I have like, is it not okay? Keep scrolling or like stay. Like I have to like be careful of like what I'm watching and like Luckily, there's been like
your phone through your fingers, like trying to.
Yeah, it's like, okay, am I allowed to watch this? I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, But yeah, I could not be more excited about this game. So excited.
Yeah. Which is fairly like unusual for you, right? Because you've admitted that like you don't generally play a ton of different games. Which is fine. But yeah, like the fact that this is a game that you're excited for makes me excited for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not that like I like don't like video games. Like, I mean, obviously, I grew up being mostly a handheld gamer, but like I played a lot of handheld games growing up. I had like Game Boy Color, then the Game Boy Advance, the SP, the DS. The DS was kind of the last one I had, but I was always like excited about the new thing coming out. Like I played a lot of like games when they like were released on those systems and. Around when I got to high school is kind of when I stopped having time or bandwidth or being able to afford a lot of the new games that were coming out that I was excited about. And then when I went off to college, I just continued to not really be invested in it. And so it's kind of, this is the first like game that I've had access to that I can be excited about. Just because like gaming can be a very like cost prohibitive hobby.
Oh, definitely.
And like I have a hand me down Switch from my brother-in-law, and I got a gift card from somebody I worked with for like Target, and I was like, oh cool, I can like play all this for free. So because I have his copy of his copy of Breath of the Wild, and I can buy Tears of the Kingdom with this gift card that I got for Christmas. So sweet. So this is kind of like a late Christmas gift to myself. So I'm like excited that like I actually like have the means to do something that I'm like really excited about, and it really just kind of worked out that way. So
yeah, that is cool. Yeah. Unfortunately, gaming does tend to be a pretty cost prohibitive. I mean, in multiple senses of the word cost, because there's like, yes, like monetarily it costs a lot, especially if you want to play games when they first come out or like get the hardware when it first comes out. But it's also just like games take a lot of time to play, and they also take your attention. Like it's not like you can like binge a TV show on Netflix while also like being on your phone, or like you don't necessarily have to be completely dialed in 100% of the time when you're watching a show. You can kind of be listening to it in the background or whatever, but with a game it kind of has to be the only thing that you're doing,
right?
And it's like, how long does it take you to it's like, it's not the same thing as like watching, playing one big game is like watching a season of a TV show and not being able to do anything else while you're doing it, as opposed to like, it's not like watching a movie where it's like, if you have 2 or 3 hours, you can just, knock one out. It's like, nope, you gotta most games that come out these days, at least most big games, are, dozens of hours long, if not hundreds in some cases.
Even just for the basic storyline and plot, will take you, assuming you're not like speed running the thing or trying to get through it really fast, it's going to take you probably 12 plus hours. So comparable to a season of a TV show or something. And as a father of a toddler with a job that doesn't pay very well, video games is not really an accessible hobby for me. So it's nice that I can actually my favorite video game series I still have access to, which is
that is awesome. Yeah,
it feels so good. So
I'm lucky in that where I am in my life right now, I live by myself and I'm single and I don't make a ton of money either, but I also don't have a family to provide for. Sure. So I can choose to make a lot of the money that I have that doesn't go towards bills and groceries and whatever. I choose to spend most of that on video games and media and stuff because that's my thing. And everybody, I feel like everybody has their thing too. If they what do you value when it comes to your spending money? If you have anything left over, what would you like to spend it on? And some people like to travel a lot, or some people like to buy new clothes for themselves or whatever. And for me, it's always just been media and tech stuff. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited for you that we get to go on this journey together a little bit. We get to be excited about a game together.
We haven't been excited about a game together in a decade.
I feel Portal 2 was probably the last one that we were both.
That was 2011.
That was 2011. Yeah.
So that's when I graduated high school. Yeah. So it's so it's been a long time since we've been hyped about a game together. So this is fun. This is a lot of fun. Exciting. And all of you in podcast land get to join us in. Yay! Kind of take a back seat to watching me and Jack have all this fun, or listening to me and Jack have all this fun. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, dude, I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, getting excited for this, just kind of reacquainting myself with the mechanics of the game and getting used to exploring again. And so what I've been doing is I've been I have the master cycle, the motorcycle thing, and I throw on the Korok mask, and I'm just just riding around and just farming for Koroks, just get used to exploring and looking for getting my brain wired for looking for little clues and all that kind of stuff. So it's been that's been kind of fun to do. I've found 20 Koroks in the last 2 days or so. It's been it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the great thing about Breath of the Wild is that you can follow the main story and be really invested in it and put all your attention on it if you want, but you can also just chill out and explore and have a podcast on in the background or something. It doesn't require your whole attention necessarily. And so Breath of the Wild is one of those games that's really good for just kind of zoning out. And I like doing that a lot. I've tried lately to do I feel there are a lot of games that I haven't played because they're not the type of game that I can just zone out to, because a lot of times when I get home from work and I'm tired and I prefer to play something that I can just I can grind, or I can run around and explore without having to have the volume up necessarily, and I can have a YouTube video on in the background or something and kind of just massage both parts of my brain and not think too hard and just kind of unwind.
I get that. Over Christmas I did that with Breath of the Wild, and I listened to John Green's Anthropocene Reviewed, and just that sounds
that's an excellent
it was listening to during I just felt very cozy and in touch with just humanity while playing a very fantasy-esque game. It was fun.
Very fantasy, but very also kind of Breath of the Wild is a game about being in touch with nature and the world, and so it's very meditative and calm, in a way. It is. I mean, not all the time, obviously.
Until you hear that little high pitched piano thing, and there's a guardian. I'm gonna die.
All right, we're running. Bye.
Oh no.
Exactly. But I was just gonna say that I those are the kinds of games that I've been playing for a while now, and I've gotten to a point recently where I'm like, there's a lot of games that are on my to play list that I do want to play that I've just not been playing because I've been giving deference to, the kind of chill out games, the games that are like either games that I already know well or that I or something I can just kind of grind on and not make a lot of, I don't have to be super like heavily invested in the moment. But a lot of the games that I want to play are like that, are games where you have to be invested in the moment and have like, they have strong stories, so they're like mystery puzzle games or something.
Yeah.
And, so I want to try and like make more time for that. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to be able to have Tears of the Kingdom, because I feel like it will, as Breath of the Wild did, it will kind of allow for both of those kind of experiences. So if I want to just zone out, I can, and I can just explore and do whatever. Or if I want to, pursue the main story, I can do that too. So
for sure. Well, other than playing Breath of the Wild, I have been getting back into. I've been reading some audiobooks. Can't remember if I had finished this since last week's podcast, but I finished Carrie Fisher's memoir, Wishful Drinking. Awesome. It was very good, very quick. I loved it, and I have since started the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, which has been super cool. It's been a lot of fun because there's a lot of added depth to the story that like you don't get in like that you can't get in a movie, but you can get in like a long form novel. Like,
and I think the official adaptations are also canon too. Like,
yeah, I think so.
One of the few other things like from pre-Disney that they kept as canon. It was like the movies, the Clone Wars, and then like the official novelizations of the movies. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really cool getting to see and hear the just like different perspectives in the movie, because you don't necessarily get different perspectives in the movies. You kind of just are following you're following Anakin or Obi-Wan the entire time during the movie. But in the book, it changes perspective so much. Like there are like entire chapters that you're just like, I'm like a quarter of the way through the book right now, and they're fighting Grievous on his ship, like the opening scene of the movie. And so you get all this like the first quarter of the book, they're still in that opening battle scene, which is a lot of fun. Wow. But there's a lot of like getting to listen to the villain's perspective in it. Like it's like from the perspective of Count Dooku, from the perspective of General Grievous, from the perspective of Palpatine, which is really cool to kind of get to hear a lot of that, like kind of like realizing that like as Dooku was getting deeper and deeper into the dark side, kind of his own kind of like thoughts of like his own superiority, kind of like begin to shine through. And even like it like gets into like Dooku is a racist, like it like kind of like basically comes out and like basically like, but like racist against like non-humans, and like
sure,
yeah, so like he like hated aliens, and he hated droids even more. But like it's funny because he was like in charge of the Separatists, and like they had
which is very like that's a very imperial attitude. Like we see that in the Empire letters. Like everybody in the Empire that we see almost universally is human.
Yeah,
like,
and they had a like Dooku and Palpatine had a conversation about Anakin and about how Palpatine was like grooming Anakin, and Dooku's like, now that I took his hand and he has this robot hand, he's tainted. He's not pure anymore. Like you can't like he's not good enough because he's not. He is not 100% human. He's part droid now, so like, he's not. Like he has that kind of like that kind of thing, and like he hates General Grievous. Yeah, he hates Grievous so much.
That's understandable from that. I mean, from that perspective. Yeah. If you're coming from that perspective, it makes sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it makes Grievous sound so much more scary. Like this, like Grievous is kind of like in the movie, like he's almost kind of clownish and like how like over the top like villainous. Like he's got kind of like that robotic cough and like plays on words.
He's a silly, dawdling old man sort of character almost in the movie. Yeah, but
like in the first scene that we see him in the book, he like it talks about like how his entire like exoskeleton was like created to be like a Jedi killing machine, and like he I think his ship is like the only like non-droids on there are Neimoidians, and he like murders a Neimoidian like for like not following his orders fast enough. Like and like describes indeed like he like used his claws to like rip this guy's head off and like took like the badge on like this guy's collar and handed it to that guy's subordinate. He's like, you're the commanding officer on deck. Like you have like he just like ripped like it off. Like he ripped his neck off, took the collar, put it on him. Is like, it's you now. He's like, okay. Oh gosh. So it's just like the fear and that he kind of like strikes in the hearts of those like it's.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Grievous is such a cool, interesting character because like when he was the first time he was ever revealed was actually in the original Star Wars Clone Wars animated series, the 2D miniseries. Yeah. And in that one, he's portrayed much more as like this like force of nature, almost like a horror movie like creature, like kind of stalking people. He like stalks through silently and follows people around, and then he shows up and just decimates people, and then in Revenge of the Sith, and also for the most part in the Clone Wars, we see he's more of a like a comic relief character in some ways. Like he's still menacing in some ways, and he still like is an imposing threat, but he's not like scary.
Yeah.
So that's cool that we get to see that side of things. And it's also interesting, like when you described like him like grabbing the head of a Neimoidian off or whatever. Like I feel like I feel like I must have seen him do that with droids a million times in the Clone Wars, but now like reframing it as he does that for like biological beings as well. It's like wow, no, that's messed up.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And we actually get some backstory of like whose lightsabers he stole, or like he like the Jedi that he killed to get their lightsabers. Like when he's like, we like make jokes about like another fine addition to my collection, but like those are all like basically trophies of like Jedi he's murdered and like take the lightsaber from their corpse. And like we hear some of the stories of like how he like which Jedi it was and like how he killed them and like it's fun, but it's like
that's cool.
It's more intense and I like it. Like it's I don't know. One of the things I love about this podcast and how it's kind of like shaped how I view Star Wars is just like how much like getting into the lore brings about like the like just depth to the story, and like the more Star Wars is better Star Wars. Like that's something like that a lot of people say, and we say it a lot on this podcast. And like the more lore we get, the more I can appreciate the story and the characters and the motives and all that stuff. It's been a lot of fun to kind of like dive into the novelization a little bit and like have more. Give me more. I want more.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about what your continued experience with this book is as you continue to read through it. That sounds cool.
For sure.
I'm excited to hear your other insights.
Yeah, man.
It's rad. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about that I've been watching, which is Star Wars Visions Volume 2 came out on May the 4th this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I have not watched all of it yet, but I watched 2 shorts today. The first one I watched was the Aardman short called I Am Your Mother.
Oh, was it good?
Which was great. Yeah. So I watched that one, and then I watched the first one in the version like that they have in the list, which is called Sith, which is by El Guiri Studios. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize, but they're from Madrid. Their studio from Madrid, Spain, which is cool.
España.
Yeah. It sounds like I'm not sure this has been pointed out before, but I think Visions Volume 1 was mostly like kind of Japanese and Asian influence. Like the idea was that it was like a bunch of Star Wars anime shorts. Yeah. Whereas Visions Volume 2 seems to be like they kind of went everywhere. They went like global from just places all over the world, not just Japan, not just like East Asia, So that's cool that we get kind of a more diverse set of artists behind these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But, so the first one I watched was Aardman's short. They're from England. If you're not familiar with who they are, Aardman makes Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep and various advertisements and other things. Oh, they're making they made Chicken Run, and the Chicken Run sequel's coming out I think later this year on Netflix.
No way.
So I'm I'm excited about that. Yeah. So, yes, very excited about that. But yeah, their short that they did for Visions is called "I Am Your Mother," and it's a very like if like I watched it and I was like, this makes sense that Aardman would make the sort of cutesiest, most family friendly, most adorable of the shorts. Like, I mean, I haven't watched most of the other ones, but like it's very like it's a very family friendly, like kid friendly short. It's a really sweet story about the relationship between this young girl who's in like a space flight academy, like the Rebel Flight Academy, and her mother, and it's a really fun, like, you know, it's simple, but it's really well told, and it's got all the charm and the kind of classic Aardman character design that we've come to know and love, of like the big wide spherical eyes and the big like wide mouths with big teeth, and you know, it all looks very Aardman, and it's very charming, and I like that a lot. And then the other one is called Sith, by an animation studio from Madrid, Spain, and it is I think we talked briefly about like they released a poster for this a little while ago, like a couple episodes back we talked about this, but it's like it's got a gorgeous visual like art style to it. It all looks like kind of splatter paint, basically. Like the whole aesthetic of it is everything is painted. Like it looks like it's been painted on canvas or whatever, and all the characters and the backgrounds and the effects work are all done with this painterly texture to it, and it's gorgeous. And it's also just like this short has it all. Like it's such a good like microcosm of Star Wars and fun Star Wars stuff, but in a way that like in sort of a tone and a look and feel that we haven't seen before in Star Wars. And that's I think what I like about the Visions shorts is that we get a chance to see like this familiar universe from an unfamiliar perspective, and it kind of brings new life into it, and that's what is exciting for me about these. So yeah, I won't go into like the details of the plot of either of these, just because I know you haven't watched them yet. But highly recommend both of those, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of them, and also catching up on Visions Volume 1, because I've only watched maybe 3 episodes from that, but I'm going to go back and watch those after I watch the rest of Volume 2. So
yeah, I was the same way. I'd only watched the first handful from Volume 1, and there was just one that like really kind of turned me off of the one that came out last time. Not that there's anything like wrong with it. It's just like it wasn't my vibe that I wanted. Sure, like it's not canon. I'm like, it's fine. But like on May the 4th, I went back and started. I just kind of picked up where I left off and started watching another episode of Visions, and I liked it a lot. It was it was kind of like a more like a samurai kind of inspired one, and it was really cool. So I'm hoping to just kind of to bust through from Volume 1 and into Volume 2 is kind of my plan. Just whenever I have some free time. It was kind of like a couple nights ago with a midnight snack. Like, I'll turn this on. Why not?
The nice little short bites, you know, it was 14, like 15 minutes each.
Yeah, it was perfect. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of getting into the Arbor one. I saw, so this isn't like a spoiler. I don't think it's a spoiler. Sure. But it was like someone posted online a screen grab from the Aardman Studios episode of Visions, and it was a background character, and it was the fridge from Wallace and Gromit, the one where they go to the moon. Oh! The fridge was in there.
Yeah,
the fridge robot.
It's
Grand Day Out. That's what it's called.
It's the little like fridge, whatever. Yeah, it was like a fridge or something, or like an oven or something. Yeah. And it's the one that skis down the cheese mountains.
Yes.
On the moon.
So it was that fridge was like in the background of like one of the shots.
Excellent. I need to go back and look for that. That's great.
Yeah. I'm going to be looking for it when I watch it. But yeah. So that was cool. I'm excited to get to watch that.
Yeah. Maybe in a few weeks we'll have like a a mini segment before a main segment where we just like quickly talk about our briefly our thoughts on each of the shorts.
Yeah.
Once we've gotten through all of them. I think that'd be cool.
That would be fun. I know Max has expressed interest in talking about, like, if we ever do like a Visions specific episode, he wants to jump in.
Yeah.
And Grace, if she actually listened to this podcast, would want to as well.
Yeah, Gracie, are you listening? Huh?
Yeah,
are you listening to this podcast?
There is no proof as to if she's actually listened to it. So
we can't ask her. We can't like go to her and be like, "Hey, Gracie, did you listen to the podcast?" Because then we wouldn't be able to make this joke anymore.
That's true.
That she doesn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah. I was telling Grace the other day that we can't actually let her be on the podcast because that would, like, canonically in the unlimited content universe, she does not listen to the podcast. So if she came on the podcast, that would be a continuity error on her part. So,
maybe it could be a redemption arc.
It could be.
See, now I feel bad about being like Gracie needs a redemption arc for something that she's not doing. And even if she didn't listen, it would be fine anyway. Anyway, Gracie, if you're listening, which I know you're not, we love you.
Yep. Whether or not you listen to the podcast, which you don't, we love you. We love you a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, sisters. Oh, man. Where were we going with this? Oh, Visions, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Max, would love to have you on again for talking about Visions, of course. Anytime. Anytime.
But not Grace. Just kidding.
Okay.
Or are we?
No, everybody's welcome. All people are welcome if you know us and we like you. Which that is true for both of our siblings. So
it is. Yep. Believe it or not, it is.
Sam, do you want to talk to us a little bit about what's new and up and coming in the world of Star Wars? Any news? Any exciting things happening?
Sure. Well, since this past May the 4th, something rather momentous occurred in the world of the world. Specifically the world. Yes. Specifically the world of the City of Angels, Los Angeles, Hollywood. Carrie Fisher is now on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah, I like, as you were talking about finishing her memoir, I was like, oh wait, right, she that was a May the 4th thing they did is Carrie Fisher got her star on the Walk of Fame posthumously, and a bunch of I saw a bunch of like the images from it. There was her daughter, of course, Billie Lourd, was there to kind of accept on her behalf, and she like gave a speech, and R2-D2 and C-3PO were both there, and Mark Hamill was there, and he did some talking, so that was cool to get, to kind of see that she got that recognition. It's always a good day when you get to celebrate Carrie Fisher. So
did you get a chance to listen to Billy or Mark's remarks?
No, actually, I know about it because I probably would have found out about it eventually anyway, but I work at a news station, and on that day we had some like Star Wars Day related stories. And so one of the ones I like edited was about Carrie Fisher on the Walk of Fame. So I like had some old photos of her from back in the filming of the original Star Wars, and then some footage from that day of the ceremony on Hollywood Boulevard. But the thing about being a news video editor is that you don't necessarily read the whole story every time, because it's like, I've got a bunch of stuff to edit, and I skim the story so that I have enough knowledge to know what to edit and what visuals are needed for it, and then I move on to the next one. So I don't necessarily like have time to sit and listen through everything. But that was cool to find out. And speaking of which, I guess I do want to talk about, Star Wars Day was fun because this was the first Star Wars Day where I worked at a news station, and if you know anything about local news stations, it's that they love to talk about silly things, and what could be more fun and silly than Star Wars Day? And that's so true. We had a story that we did about there's a store. They have a couple locations. I know at least one is in Dallas, but the one that I know of and that I've been to is the one here in Austin, called Holocron, and it is a Star Wars store. It's just a big dang store that sells like lots of Star Wars collectibles and decor, and like lots of like action figures and Lego sets and lightsabers and things like that. And you can find stuff that's like they sell recent current stuff, but they also sell like you can find action figures like from the Phantom Menace from the 90s there, just like on the shelves, and you know, it's a really cool like sort of celebration of Star Wars fandom. Like I literally I didn't know it existed until one day when I was like, I think it was back like during the holidays. I was driving around a shopping center, running some errands, getting Christmas gifts for people, and I like drove past this store with a giant sign that said Holocron on it, and I was like, I'm sorry, is that a Star Wars store? Was there a Star Wars store like 10 minutes from my apartment and I didn't know it? And it turns out, yes, that's exactly the case.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So that's super cool. Shout out to Holocron. But yeah, I didn't get to go there obviously because I was working, but I saw some of the footage that we shot, and there were a bunch of people from the 501st there. There was somebody from the 501st who was dressed up as Darth Vader, and like we had some footage of him just like waving to cars passing by through the shopping center, and it was like, oh, this is nice, this is delightful. So that was a nice thing that day that I got to. It perked me up, you know. Yeah. That was cool.
Jack, for the uninitiated or just those who don't know, what is the 501st?
Yeah, the 501st. So in canon, the 501st is Vader's Fist. It is the Legion of Stormtroopers that serves Darth Vader. And I think also there was a 501st Legion in the Clone Wars that was like, you know, it was like the clones that served under Anakin. I think I can be wrong about that.
It was. But, okay. I think Rex was the clone leader of the 501st. I think.
Gotcha.
But they're the ones that wear blue a lot, and in the original Star Wars Battlefront game, you play as the 501st, and you're following the 501st through Battlefront 2.
Cool. Well, yeah, but so that's what the 501st is in canon. But in the real world, the 501st is the official costuming organization for fans who make costumes of bad guys from Star Wars. So it's an international organization with different troops all over the world and like across all major cities, and it's basically just it's like designed like a military hierarchy, but it's essentially just people who are really into the Star Wars and who want to make like basically screen accurate recreations of costumes from the movies, and then they build them themselves and they dress up and they go out and just, you know, do events for fun. But they've also been known for like showing up for charity events. Like they'll go to hospitals dressed up in character in these like screen accurate costumes, and like on Star Wars Day or just on you know, whatever other, like on Halloween or wherever. And they are there as kind of just a positive fan presence. And they have a pretty close relationship with Lucasfilm at this point. And I think there have been quite a few 501st members who have like been in Star Wars media, like official canon Star Wars media, because they just like, you know, they're like, we need a bunch of stormtroopers for this scene. Do you 501st? Do you want to send some of your members to like be in like Rogue One or whatever? Like I don't remember exactly what things they've been in, but like they've just put out a call for like, do you well, we need some stormtroopers. Do you guys want to be in the movie? And they're like, yeah. And because they're so passionate about it and they run such a tight ship, and it's very like, you know, they're great at it. And it's super cool. Like I'm not in the 501st, as cool as that would be, but it's one of those things where you need to put in a lot of time and effort, and also it can be kind of expensive to like
for sure
get all the equipment you need to make these costumes and stuff. But yeah, the 501st is a super cool organization, and and they were at this event, and
nice.
It's always delightful to hear them. There's also the Rebel Legion, which is they're not quite as big, but they are the quote unquote good guys kind of variant of the 501st. So it's all like the Jedi and the and then the kind of the rebel pilots and things.
Nice.
So if you ever go to a convention and you see somebody dressed up in a good looking Star Wars costume, there's a good chance that they are a member of the 501st or the Rebel Legion. Or the Mandalorian Mercs, which is another one, which is just it's all Mandalorian armor, and I know that organization has definitely grown a lot since the Mandalorian series on Disney Plus got popular. So
for sure,
I would love, honestly, I would love to build my own Mandalorian armor, because it's like, I like the idea of having something that is like a cool sort of screen accurate costume, but also that you get to kind of customize yourself and make your own, you know, because that's part of like Mandalorian culture, is making your armor sort of, you know, personalized to you. So I like that idea.
I like that too. Yeah, I think if memory serves, when Obi-Wan came out, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, the 501st was recruited by Lucasfilm to help develop their costumes for the Order 66 flashbacks, because there were because when they filmed the original movies, they did not make a single clone trooper costume.
They were all
it was
CG,
all CG.
Yeah.
So cosplayers were the ones that like figured out how to like actually like reliably make on a mass scale clone trooper armor, because it was never made for the show. So the first time that you actually see a real clone trooper like costume that's worn by a real human actor and not just a computer thing was in the Order 66 flashbacks in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a lot of that was just designed by 501st members.
That's so cool.
That were like contracted by Lucasfilm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Adam Savage on his YouTube channel did a whole like deep dive into that, and like he toured Lucasfilm and like got to meet a couple 501st members, and
oh man, I gotta watch that. I love everything Adam Savage does, and he has a YouTube channel called Tested, which is like it's basically just his channel where he and a bunch of his colleagues like just talk about cool stuff. They talk about builder stuff and filmmaking and like just maker things, and it's just super cool. I need to watch that. I didn't know that was a thing he did. That's super cool.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find a link and send it to you, and maybe we can put it in the episode description.
Yes, that'd be excellent. Now that you mention it about like the clone trooper costumes, like when I watched that scene for the first time in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, I was like, I think I didn't like clock it at the time, like consciously, but I was like, something about this looks like different. Like, and I guess it didn't occur to me until just now. Like, yeah, we had never seen actual like real live action like Clone Wars suits before. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, that's what it was. Is they look really cool and realistic, and it's just there's something different about it because they don't have that same sort of
because the camera's actually capturing it.
The camera's actually capturing it. There's light reflecting off of it, and it's that's cool. Yeah, man, Star Wars fans are the best.
I love Star Wars fans.
There's another organization. I think they're like the Astromech Builders Guild, and it's people who build like screen accurate droids, like astromech droids, like R2D2 and R5D4 and other ones. And I know that there's like when The Force Awakens came out, there was a bunch of like, it was a huge fan effort to try and figure out, okay, how do we make the like BB-8 for real? How do we do that? How do we, like, and they did figure that out. And also I think actually in the design of BB-8 initially, like and in a lot of the droids that were built for The Force Awakens, they actually brought in a bunch of members from the Astromech Builders Guild, or whatever it is they're called. I might be getting that wrong. But yeah, they brought in fans, like a couple of fans, like headed up the creation of like, you know, creating R2D2 and creating BB-8 and all the other Astromech droids that they had to put together for that movie, which is, again, one of those just, you know, it's rare to see so many kind of like fans whose dedication gets them ascended into like making the actual thing. You know, it's incredible.
That's so cool. I didn't know that about the Droid Makers Guild. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's another thing that like for a while I was like, oh, I want to do that. That sounds super cool. And then I realized all the skills that I didn't have that would be required to do that. Yes, I still think it would be cool someday to like learn some robotics, and I'm sure there are like tutorials online that I could follow, and like, you know, I maybe necessarily wouldn't be like great at it, but it would still be fun to like, you know, to have my own droid. How rad would that be? You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like back when, I think it was around when Revenge of the Sith came out, like you could, I don't remember if it was like you could get it at Best Buy or Toys R Us or like the Sharper Image catalog or something, but you could get a remote control R2D2 that was also a mini fridge that would like bring you sodas and stuff.
That's awesome.
And I remember thinking, I want that. I don't care how much money it costs. I don't care how impractical it is. I want an R2D2 mini fridge that follows me around to bring me soda.
Yeah. I remember seeing, I don't know if it was that exact one, but I remember seeing some others when I was growing up. Like, yeah, there was like an R2D2 you could get that's like voice activated, and you could like tell it to like come over here, and it would follow you, and then, you know, you could be like, R2 dance, and then it would do a little dance, and you know, like, oh my gosh, it's a real droid, I want it.
That's so cool.
Oh, yeah, so amazing. I want a droid. I want BD-8. Sorry, not. I mixed up two droids just now. I meant to say BD-1. BD-1 is the droid from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He's a little, I think I talked about him a little bit last time, but he's like a little, like, he's like Wally's head on like two little stick legs, and he's adorable. And I don't think they have like an official like high detail like scale model of him yet, but they do have a Lego set of him that looks really nice. That's like scale. That's like full size.
That's cool.
That I want to get. And if only I had money, but Legos are expensive.
Legos are expensive, man.
Yeah, like they're worth it because, like, you know, the other day I had this was like maybe a month or two ago. I got like a cheap like kind of knockoff Lego set from Daiso. Daiso's like a Japanese like kind of convenience store type. Like it's like a little market where you can get just lots of kind of cheap goods from Japan, and they have like they have Japanese candy, and they have little like shelf organizers, and they have kitchen utensils, and it's all like imported cheap Japanese stuff, but like kind of, you know, good for its price, kind of like, you know, the quality of stuff you might get at IKEA. Sure. But yeah, I went there and just on a trip with friends to hang out because it's a fun place to go, and I got this little like little robot guy that you can build out of like basically knockoff Legos. Like they're Legos but tinier, and I think as much as I enjoyed that experience of building that thing made me realize how quality Legos are, like actual name brand Legos. Because it's like you don't realize how, like, until you've built a bunch of actual Legos and then build a knockoff one where you're like, oh, this is not as fun as building with real Legos. It's like it doesn't, things don't always fit together quite how you would want them to, or they're harder to get apart, or like it doesn't like. With actual Legos, everything like fits together seamlessly and very satisfyingly, and like they've got their manufacturing processes down to like, you know, exactly how they want it, and it's so, as you know, they're expensive, but to an extent they're worth it, you know. So anyway, that's my short Lego soapbox.
Yeah. One last thing on Legos. I saw this. I think I sent you this TikTok, but it was like an hour before we recorded. So probably haven't watched it yet. But and also I send you too many and you don't watch them.
Yeah, I don't watch 90% of the TikToks you send me.
That's fair. I expect that.
It's not that I don't want to watch them. It's that there's 800 of them.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, it was somebody from Lego was being interviewed, and he was like the head guy for like Lego, like the Star Wars division of Lego. Mm-hmm. And he was just kind of sharing a little Easter egg that he includes in most of his, like, the ones they design. So I don't know if you ever noticed, like, when you're building like Legos, sometimes there's a pink Lego brick.
Yes,
I do in some of the builds.
Yeah.
Evidently, so his wife also works for Lego, in like some separate division or something. But she like made a bet with him, like, if you can include a pink brick in like a Lego Star Wars build, I will buy your whole team cake. And so every time that they are able to sneak a pink brick into a Star Wars Lego set, she buys the team cake.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah,
that's it. I like, built something that simple.
I was wondering why that was, because I built a couple like Star Wars Lego sets fairly recently. Like I got one for Christmas that's like the Death Star trench run. It's super cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there are like some like interior bricks that you can't see once the thing is fully built. But like occasionally there will just be a brick that's like, this one's pink, and I was like, huh. Like, is there? I was wondering, like, is there a design reason for that? Is it like a marker of some kind for something? But no. That's awesome. I love that. A little bit of trivia. It's delightful.
Yeah.
It
made me smile.
That is great. I follow on, speaking of TikTok and Legos, I follow a couple people. Like there's one guy in particular who's like a Lego master builder who works at like one of the Legolands, or like a major Lego store, and he just posts TikToks of like, this is what I was doing today when I built, you know, I challenged myself to build this kind of thing for Lego today, and he just builds
when I build with Legos for a living, this is what I did.
Yeah, and it's just like him showing off like these like different like legal and illegal quote unquote building techniques. Like, you can't put bricks together this way because Lego doesn't like that, but you can put them together this way. Or it's like, I think I discovered a new building technique and there's no record of whether it's legal or illegal. So,
so like, I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Legos are great. Legos are great, everybody. Lego, sponsor us. Sponsor a podcast.
Please. I have, Sarah has given me permission whenever I strike it rich. However, I'm going to do that. I'm never going to be rich.
Yeah.
But whenever I do that,
you get there.
And I'm going to get a full-size, like, Lego either Death Star or Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
And build it into a coffee table. And that way it's like awesome. Permanently on display, like a glass top coffee table kind of thing.
Yes, so it's like an inset display case of that's cool. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, so that's whenever I have like my little like Lego Star Wars man cave thing, that's gonna be in there. So
cool.
Sarah, thank you for your permission. And if you deny permission, I'll never say it on the podcast and everyone's gonna agree with me. So sorry. Marriage.
Awesome.
Yep.
Marriage.
Oh man.
Okay, and I guess one last, before we get into our main segment, one other thing that happened this week that I guess is a pretty big deal, that who knows how it'll affect the world of Star Wars, but I'm sure it will in some way.
Sure.
The Writers Guild of America just went on strike for the first time since like 2007, 2009, whenever the last big strike was.
I think it was 2007.
Yeah. They are trying to get paid properly. They're trying to be able to make a living and trying to get...
As they should.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of it also has to do with like the rise of AI and ChatGPT and things like that. Of like, they want it to be in their contract that like, that AI is never made to do like, they don't want their jobs to be taken by AI, basically, which is a totally reasonable thing to want. And the studios are like, you know what? Basically, like, the Writers Guild was like, we want it written in that you can't do these things with AI. And the studio's response was like, okay, well, what if instead of that, we just, like, talked about it once a year? And then that's it. They're like, you know what? Maybe let's go on strike. So, I mean, that's not the only thing. That's just, like,
right, because one thing about it, too, was, like, getting residuals from streaming versus residuals from like on TV.
Yes, because I think when like the current like WGA guidelines, I don't know how it works. I'm not a union writer or anything, but like basically how the rules currently, not yet. Fingers crossed. Who knows? Someday. Yeah, when the original like guidelines were written or the rules or whatever about residuals from streaming projects, it was like back before streaming was actually big. It was mostly like YouTube videos and like little like
and like buying episodes and seasons on iTunes, that kind of thing.
Whereas now streaming as a whole, it's an industry that it wasn't before. Like Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO Max all exist now when they didn't before, and so people aren't being paid like at a level that is fair.
Yeah, and I've heard things that like some like streaming platforms will even like take down like old shows so they don't have to pay out residuals. Like they'll take them down from Netflix or whatever, so that like this is all like just what I've heard. I'm not like claiming that. I don't know. But like
we're experts here on Unlimited Content is where you come for expert legal advice on Writers Guild information.
Yep, us both non-writers. Well, at least I'm not a writer. I'm not a professional writer. You're not a professional writer
at the moment.
You're not in the union, so oops.
True.
Not yet. Anyway, but yeah. So anyway, I hope the writers get everything they ask for and more, because they deserve it.
Pay your writers, everybody.
Yeah.
All the Hollywood executives that are listening to Unlimited Content right now, pay your writers. Come on.
Solidarity forever. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yes. Unionize. I mean, unionize. That's the point of this. But anyway.
Yep.
Great. All right. Well, we are already like an hour and 10 minutes into our recording, so let's
noise.
Get into our main segment for the day. Today's episode that we were talking about is, as we said, The Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 16, The Hidden Enemy. Sam, where in the Star Wars timeline does this episode take place?
This takes place 22 years before the Battle of Yavin, immediately after last week's episode, which was the space battle over the planet of Christophsis. They're on the ground in Christophsis now. So it's
indeed
they won the space battle, then they went down to the ground.
Yeah. And this the Battle of Christophsis is a large portion of the Clone Wars movie that we'll be talking about next week. So this is like the lead in to the events of the Clone Wars movie in a lot of ways. So
cool beans.
Yeah. So Sam, do you want to walk us real quick through the basic timeline of what happens in this episode?
Yes. So the moral of the story that we get before every episode of Clone Wars is truth enlightens the mind, but won't always bring happiness to your heart.
Damn, deep.
And then, Jack, do you want me to do the prologue intro?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Thing.
I want to hear it.
You want me to do it? Is this going to be a bit I'm doing every time now?
Yeah, I mean, either you do it every time, or I do it sometimes and you do it sometimes. Whatever. We need to do it. Okay. Is the point.
Great, we do need to do it. Great, cool. All right. Episode 16, Hidden Enemy. A planet under siege. Separatist forces mercilessly batter the beautiful and elegant world of Christophsis. Unable to defend themselves any longer, the people of Christophsis call upon the Jedi for assistance. Hoping to save the lives and prevent further destruction, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker plan a daring ambush, which can turn the tide in the fight for this crucial star system. So yeah, that's that.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
So
it's just like in the show.
I sound exactly like the dude. Anyway, here's the first couple paragraphs of the plot summary. So Anakin, Obi-Wan, and their clones prepare to ambush the advancing droid forces from two towers overlooking the road the droids are taking. Just as they're about to fire on the droids, the advance is split into three columns, and the droids suddenly appear in Obi-Wan's building. Anakin calls in a gunship for immediate evacuation before leading his squad to assist Obi-Wan. They escape to the roof, and the droids follow them. Their gunship arrives, picking them up, but not before taking the command tactical droid's head to find out how the Separatists discovered their plan. I love how in Star Wars, like the droids are anthropomorphized to such an extent that like all of their memories are in their head, even though like it's like practically if you were building a droid, it would like be in the chest because it's like that's where the most room is.
Like,
but no, if you steal
the hard drive go, but no,
no, like we're gonna see the brain of this droid because like that's how droids work in Star Wars. All of the thinking goes on in the head. Everything else is just pistons and motors and things. But yeah, I love that. Anyway, so at the base, Rex and Cody, which this is their first appearance in Star Wars canon, Captain Rex and Commander Cody.
Was Cody in?
He wasn't name dropped, but it was Cody.
No. I mean, in was he not in Attack of the Clones?
No, we didn't have any name. We had no named clones in.
That's right.
In Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, this is the first time we see either Cody or Rex. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So this is not the first time we see Cody, like in terms of like Revenge of the Sith came out before this, so we saw him like in real world time. We saw him first, and we hadn't seen. I think Rex was introduced in the Clone Wars series. Yeah, this is both the first chronological appearance and the first like actual appearance of Commander Rex. Right.
Yeah. Although, if you subscribe to some fan theories, Rex was on the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, there's a guy in like the background of like, or in one of the shots during Return of the Jedi who like looks like an older Cody. Some people think, and so people are like, oh, could that be Commander Cody? And like,
Rex.
I mean Rex. That's what I meant. That's what I said. What are you talking about?
I
said the right thing the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's. I can't remember like if. I feel like I don't know if it was ever officially like canonized, but I feel like I know that Dave Filoni is like aware of the theory and kind of played with it. And like there's some concept art of Rex.
I want to say his look in Rebels was modeled after that.
Yeah, like intentionally.
Guy, at least the beard.
Yeah.
At least he's got the beard. The beard that Rex has in Rebels looks just like the beard that guy has in Return of the Jedi.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. So at the base, Rex and Cody analyze the droid's memory from its head in its brain. But the best they can find before the head burns out is that the Separatists knew of their position beforehand. Obi-Wan suggests that they may have a spy in their ranks. The Jedi decide to go behind enemy lines and investigate and tell the clones to keep the mission classified. However, as the Jedi leave, Cody notices that someone left his comm link on, eavesdropping on them. Rex and Cody spot someone running off and chase him. Unfortunately, they lose him in the mess hall amongst their many brothers, meaning that one of the clones is a traitor. They decide to contact the Jedi, but the droids are keeping communications jammed. When I was watching this earlier today, I thought it was kind of hilarious that like they like look over on the desk and see like the 3 comm like the communicators just kind of sitting there, and one of them has this bright red blinking light that like they didn't notice beforehand. And then
those Jedi instincts didn't like kick in.
The Jedi instincts didn't kick in. They didn't notice that red light blinking beforehand. And also when they're walking out, whoever was eavesdropping was like standing right outside the door, even though he had a communicator in the room, and then he just runs off as soon as they walk out. So this is very silly. How all of this like this what's supposed to be kind of a mystery is like some dude has a listening device that presumably has like really, really far range, but he decides that he wants to camp outside the door so he can still try to listen anyway, even though he has a communicator just like picking up everything. And then he hears them like find the communicator, turn it off. He stays there. They talk about it, and then he runs off when they open the door. So.
Yeah, this episode is really interesting to me in that, like plot wise, it is very like. I think it's a great episode. I think it's got like intrigue and this sort of like this suspicion and you know people defecting and you know a lot of the same kind of ideas and themes that we'll see later on in the Clone Wars, like in later in the series. It establishes a lot of those same sort of themes and ideas really early on. But like I was thinking about like how different this episode would have played out and would have looked and sounded and been written if it were like a season 7 episode, just because like of how like just like visually, you know, the animation is obviously not up to the same quality as it eventually became. You know, it's not, I don't think it's bad by any means, but like it just, you know, the jump in quality between this and the later seasons is massive. And also just and also just comparing like the writing and the animation and the tone and the pacing and the editing, just every aspect of the craft of this show, and like between these early episodes and what we see in like season 7, for example, like it's such a massive step up, but like the fundamentals are all still there. So we get to see you know, it's still a great episode and a great, you know, demonstration of what Clone Wars is about, but it's just cool coming back to this after having seen like, you know, like the sort of the Order 66 episodes in season 7. It's just like, man, what a journey it's been, you know. Like you can see that the DNA is all there in the beginning. Exactly.
Of like just like what like the same themes, the same motives, and what basically drives all the characters is all the same. It's just more fleshed out the further you get in, and it's
exactly. It's also interesting to me that like the very first episode that like has a focus on the clones as characters has one of them defecting, like from this is very early on in the Clone War, and already there's at least, you know, some dissent among their ranks, which like, and we'll talk more about it like later in the episode, but yeah, it's interesting to me that like, you know, even this early on things were like not going great on some level. All
right, moving on. So Rex and Cody have R2-D2 analyze the communication history to find out if anyone had sent out any unauthorized transmissions. Rex notices an irregular wavelength that is too low and infrequent for them to normally detect. The transmission seems to be coming from Slick's barracks. Slick is the name of one of the clones. So they decide to investigate that end. They question all of Slick's men. Jester was cleaning his weapon. Punch and Sketch were in the mess hall, and Gus was in the infirmary. The last one, Chopper, appears to be hiding something and reluctantly reveals that he was collecting droid fingers as war trophies, which is forbidden by protocol. Chopper denies being a spy, and Slick offers a full investigation when the Jedi come back. However, Chopper snaps that from his hiding place. He saw Slick go into the command center rather than the mess hall, and Cody also notes that Slick somehow knows about the Jedi's departure. Slick, knowing he's been discovered, escapes. Cody and Rex try chasing him down, but they're too late. Slick blows up most of the gunships and the ATTEs, as well as the weapons depot, with earlier placed charges. the other clones inform Cody and Rex that Slick went into the command center, and they order the others to secure the perimeter while they go inside. So it's interesting that they like go and they interview all these different clones. This is the first time we get to see like a full like clone battalion. They're like these like 5 or 6 men that all look exactly the same, with the exception of their haircuts or facial markings or tattoos or whatever.
Yeah.
And they all have their own like different names and stuff. So we're kind of like getting to meet the clones as they, while they are all literally clones of the same person, they all have individual personalities and how they want to present themselves to the rest of their brothers and to their Jedi counterparts and stuff. And it's interesting that the commanding officer is the one that defects. Mm-hmm. The commanding officer is the one that like is who betrays yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I think that it's cool that this is the first time we get to see the individuality of the clones really emphasized. And I mean that's an ongoing theme with this series, and also one of the best things that I think this series does for Star Wars is, you know, in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, we never really get much of a sense of the clones having individuality. They're all just kind of faceless and nameless for the most part. Just like
other than Cody, really.
Yeah, Cody's basically the only named clone as far as I can remember, or at least like the only one that gets enough screen time to really be considered a distinct clone in the live action movies. And so, but what this show does is gives us this idea that like, I think it shows us a couple things. One is that we get to see the individuality of all these clones and the fact that they are individual people with their own personalities and hopes and dreams and opinions. And then the other aspect that we see of it is how the clone troopers treat each other like family. Like they refer to each other as brothers. They might, I don't remember if they maybe did that in the first episode. But definitely in this episode, we hear them referring to each other as brothers and talking about like, how could you betray your brothers like that? You know, there's this sense of, for the first time we get the sense of like, they're not just like, you know, a bunch of like copies of each other who don't have any connection to each other. These are people who grew up together and who have, you know, been created for a common purpose, and they have developed this sense of camaraderie and family among each other. Because in a sense, they are all each other has in terms of family in the universe. And so so it's cool that we get this episode introduces both of those really like big important ideas to the Clone Wars and to the Star Wars universe. The idea that the clones are individuals, and also that they care for each other like brothers, and they refer to each other as brothers. That's cool.
I love that. All right, moving on to the final kind of act of the episode. So in the meantime, Anakin and Obi-Wan race to the Separatist base on Bark speeders. They notice an increasing number of droids spying on them, but still decide to continue on the mission despite the fact that it has been compromised. They arrive at the enemy base, and inside they meet Asajj Ventress, again and begin to duel her. The Jedi manage to overcome Ventress and demand her surrender, but as they edge closer to capture her, she creates a large hole in the floor beneath their feet with her lightsabers, pushing them one level down. Ventress taunts them and runs away, and the Jedi follow her, discovering that she has set up a whole army to invade Christophsis. The Jedi engage Ventress again, overbalancing the tri-droid she is standing on before escaping on STAPs. Ventress dispatches General Loathsome, hilarious name, to take care of the Jedi while she moves on to the next phase of her master's plan, and she heads to the Trident. My one thought as we're kind of like watching this in chronological order is this is our first time we're seeing Ventress in Clone Wars, right? We haven't seen her yet.
In canon in general, yeah.
In canon, yeah. But she has a familiarity with Obi-Wan, which I thought was really interesting. Like this is the first time we see that like Obi-Wan, you and I were texting before this, that like Obi-Wan has chemistry with everyone. It's kind of like what you said.
We have a script that we write in like a Google Doc to kind of take notes before each episode. And Sam wrote, she and Kenobi clearly have chemistry. Is that from 2003's The Clone Wars? And I commented saying, well, Kenobi has chemistry with literally everyone. which he does.
It's true. Yeah. We in the Clone Wars, we really get to see that Kenobi's a flirt. Like
he's got attitude. He's got sass.
He does.
Like we see, obviously we see some of that in the movies as well. Like Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, he's got his sass, he's got his jokes, and his he's got his attitude. But in the Clone Wars, we really get a sense of like, he likes having fun with things sometimes. Like, he likes to treat Anakin as if he's like the rabble rouser, but. I feel like Anakin also learned some of that from Obi-Wan to an extent.
Oh, like for sure.
Yeah.
Gosh, no, it's hilarious. Sometimes I think that Obi-Wan is kind of like the Peter Parker of the Clone Wars, just because of all of the snippy banter he has with bad guys.
Yeah,
very quippy, very like I don't know, just a lot of back and forth like one-liners that he shoots. Like taunting, and like just kind of like just ribbing these guys as he's like fighting them. It's fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think there's a YouTube video I need to find and send to you, but there's like somebody made a compilation of Obi-Wan moments from the Clone Wars, and it's just titled like Obi-Wan is a troll for 20 minutes or something. It's like, yeah, that's our Obi-Wan. I love him.
That's Obi-Wan. We love Obi-Wan.
But yeah, this is also the. I want to touch real quick on the fact that this is the first time we see Ventress in canon. Yeah. So Asajj Ventress is a character that definitely becomes a lot more important as the show goes on. But it's interesting because like, beyond like Grievous and the actual Sith Lords, Ventress is like the only. It is the first time we kind of get a dark side Force user that the Jedi get to fight against who isn't like the Sith or General Grievous. I guess General Grievous isn't a Force user, but he uses lightsabers. You know what I mean?
He was trained in the Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
Yeah, and so Ventress is a super interesting character that we'll learn a lot more as time goes on. And she's great. And
is she also trained by Dooku? She want to do
this? Yes, she's Dooku's apprentice.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is interesting because like I don't remember, like I think they talk about it like more specifically later on in the Clone Wars. Like Palpatine's like like that's that girl, you need to get rid of her because you're clearly training her to replace to be your apprentice when you replace me, and I'm not gonna have that, so get rid of her. And anyway, but yeah, she's Dooku's apprentice at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. And she, so one thing I noticed actually that I hadn't like thought about before is, so Dooku, of course, famously has his lightsaber handle is curved, and Asajj has two lightsabers, and her handles are also curved, which is interesting.
Oh yeah,
I didn't notice that until now.
That's right.
Look at that. Yeah.
Noise. So she clearly learned lightsaber dueling from somebody who used a curved lightsaber.
Count Dooku.
From Count Dooku. One of the, as an aside, while we're doing Grievous impressions, in the audiobook for Revenge of the Sith, that's the only disappointing part about the audiobook is the narrator doesn't do Grievous's like ridiculous voice. It's kind of just like a menace, like it's just kind of a generic menacing voice put through like a little robot filter, gotcha. Which is a little disappointing. It took me a minute to like realize. Yeah, General Kenobi. Yeah, it took me. Like I got to the Grievous part where I was like, I think I was mowing the lawn when I was like listening to that part, and it like took me a few minutes to realize like, oh, this is Grievous talking, because I didn't realize it was Grievous
voice. Yeah.
He's in like his voice is so essential to what I think of as his character, and usually like the voice actor that does Star Wars books, like audiobooks, is really good at doing like the voices of the characters. Yeah. Like I had it on while I was doing the dishes, just like playing on the speakerphone, and Sarah was walking through the room and was like, "Is that you, McGregor, talking?" I'm like, "No, it's just the guy doing the audiobook." So Sarah actually thought it was like the dude, Ewan McGregor himself, but no, it was just he was really good at that voice, but just not Joe Grievous. A little disappointing, but whatever. Yeah. It's still really good. Anyway, back to the Clone Wars. Okay, so kind of the end of it is Rex and Cody entered the command center in search of Slick. They soon guess that he is hiding in the vents and inconspicuously act out a scene. Cody leaves his blaster on the table while Rex goes to secure the lockdown. Slick comes down from the vents and grabs Cody's blaster only to find that it is empty, and Rex comes up from behind him. Slick engages the commander and captain in physical combat, stating that he was tired of all the suffering and was offered freedom and money from Ventress. Cody manages to knock him out and they apprehend him. As they present Slick to the Jedi, Slick snaps that his brothers are enslaved by the Jedi and that he was striking a blow for all the clones that he loves, and that he loves his brothers. But Cody and Rex retort that he has now exposed them all to certain doom. Cody orders the other clones to take the traitor into lockup. Rex reports that though most of the weapons are trash, they managed to save the heavy cannons, which will prove to be useful in the coming battle. So that's the episode. The end.
Yeah, I thought there was like interesting that for the first so when Slick is like, all my brothers are enslaved, like I think it's easy to kind of dismiss that as being like, oh, he's just like a radical or whatever. And I think in the moment we're kind of meant to be like, yeah, whatever, he's just he's a traitor, because we're meant to be on the side of the clones and of the Brotherhood and everything. But also I think every time somebody has a grievance with the war or with the way that things are being waged or the way things are run in the galaxy, there's always at least some element of like truth or validity to it. And I think in this case it's like, you know what, maybe this isn't the best way to go about it, but I think you have every right to be angry given that you and all of your brothers were like raised from childhood to be like to be machines of war, essentially. Like you were trained from birth to like be sent into battle, and that was what you're like. That's something reasonable to be upset about.
Oh, I think. Like they were created basically just to be battle droids, but with the human component, so that they would be better than battle droids, because humans can think and respond and react like better than computers. But in introducing that human component, like, you also get the fact that like these people have, even if they are all raised in as close to an identical like experience to each other as they can, like you see that like throughout, like each one of them like kind of like expresses themselves in a unique way. They're all each uniquely individual humans. They have a soul. That's one of the beautiful things about the Clone Wars, is that like they like each one of these like individual souls is really individual, and they all have their own agency, and they all have their own they all are their own individuals.
Yeah, we get to see so many different responses to what war means to all these different people. Like you said, despite the fact that they were all raised in as identical of situations as you could possibly be raised in, and like they were all essentially the same genetically, there's still such a wide variety of responses to like, what does it mean to be a soldier? What does it mean to be fighting a war and to be fighting somebody else's war? And there's so many different responses to those questions, and I think that's one of the central like strengths of the Clone Wars series.
Yeah, and that this war is essentially just two buddies playing the galaxy against itself. Like that's what this war is. It's Palpatine and Dooku, who are both on the exact same team, but like are the opposing like commanders of like galactic war.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody here is a pawn. Everybody here except for Palpatine is a pawn in Palpatine's game, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And it's interesting to see that, like, even from this early on, people get a sense of that. Like, even if they don't like understand the full picture at all, there's still a sense of like, there's something wrong with the way that this is run. There's something wrong with this system. The way that we got here, it's not right. And not everybody sees that at first, but like by the end of it, we know that a lot more people start to see it, but ultimately it's too late. Too little, too late. One other thing I wanted to talk about about this episode is just like, this is we were talking about the individuality of the clones, and this is the first time we get to see Dee Bradley Baker's performance really shine. Dee Bradley Baker being the voice actor who plays all of the clones in the Clone Wars, save for, I guess, Omega in the Bad Batch, which is later.
And that other female, like at the end of Bad Batch season 2, one of the people working in the cloning facility. I forget her name, but she's also a clone.
Yes, that is revealed later. I forgot about that. Yes. But yeah, other than those two characters, every clone in all of the Clone Wars and Rebels and the Bad Batch is voiced by Dee Bradley Baker, and he somehow is able to give all of them a distinct sense of her. Like, the idea that, like, that somebody was like, we want to make an animated series where 90% of the characters all have the same face and voice, but we want them to be distinct characters. Like, the fact that they were able to pull that off is a testament, to like their ability to, make distinct characters through like visual design and animation, like, mannerisms and, like you said, different facial hair and scars and whatever. But also just it's a testament to Dee Bradley Baker's performance and his ability to, keep all these literally hundreds of characters straight and, give them unique voices and personalities. And like I think in particular, like during that interview scene, like the kind of the interrogation where they're talking to Slick's like battalion, or is what's the right term? His troop, I don't know. His group of soldiers.
His unit.
They're interviewing all those clones, and each one of them clearly has a very different personality and way of talking. Like, one of them is like sort of more like nervous or like kind of people pleasy, and like I do everything by the book, and others are very sort of more like reserved and kind of have an attitude, and it's the way that Dee Bradley Baker, what a man. Also Perry the Platypus, by the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. He's also Appa.
Right. Yeah. Dee Bradley Baker. I think other than being like all the clones in Clone Wars, the other thing he's most well known for is doing like creature sounds, creature voices. Yeah. So yeah, he was Appa in Avatar: The Last Airbender, which, by the way, also Dave Filoni worked on that show. Yeah. So there's a connection there. And yeah, he was Perry the Platypus, and I'm sure he's done tons of creatures in Star Wars as well. So, yeah. What a guy.
But yeah, no, it's a testament to the writing and to Dee Bradley Baker that, like, how well all of these individual clones, their characters are fleshed out. Like, you watch the Clone Wars, and like it's really easy to forget that it's all just one dude doing a bunch of different voices. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's shocking how easy it is to like forget that like in any other situation, without writing this good and without performances this good and this distinct, it would get confusing very quickly. And I know there are some examples during the Clone Wars where it's understandable that you can like lose track of who's who, but for the most part it's not a problem. For the most part it's just like you're watching the episode and you forget that these are all the same,
voiced by the same guy,
and that they all have the same face. It's
that they're all clones of the same person.
Yes. So what an achievement. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Oh man. Jack, what was your favorite part of the episode?
I think I gotta say, I don't know. There are a couple of good moments in this episode. I want to say either the interrogation scene that we were just talking about, because we got that kind of sense of like the distinctiveness of these characters and them kind of playing off each other, and it's just a kind of a fun, well written, tense scene. But I think I want to say probably my favorite single moment is the moment when they're in the command center and Slick is like hiding up in the rafters, and Rex and Cody realize that Slick is up in the rafters, and they like cleverly like basically like play out a scene where they're like, they pretend to not know that Slick is there, and they like kind of without even like saying anything to each other, like non-verbally are like, okay, we know what we're gonna do here. We're gonna trap this guy into thinking he's in a position of safety. It's just a cool little like scene where we get to see a couple of like the best clones at the kind of the top of their game and like just being smart.
Yeah,
it's just a cool moment. I like that.
It is a cool moment. I think I'm gonna have to agree. That was like probably my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah.
Because it took me like a minute to realize, like from even me watching them do it, to like realize like what's the play here? Like how are they gonna? And like why did he leave his gun on the table? Like why did he? Like it was
smart.
Just smart. It was smart, being smart. But yeah, I think that was probably my favorite. My favorite part of the episode. I think for MVP. When I originally like decided who my MVP was, I didn't realize it was like Cody was the other one because he's never named in the episode.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Cody, but I didn't never like. Right. I never actually heard them say the name, but it's like he's the yellow clone. Like he's the yellow leader
Cody has
clone.
Yeah, Cody has some pretty distinctive armor in that it's always yellow. He's got like the little Mandalorian visor thing, usually, or like some sort of antenna on his. I think in this one he had an antenna on his shoulder pad. But like it's always yellow, and he's always he was referred to as Commander, and he's yellow. So I'm like, oh, it's probably Cody, but like I wasn't sure. But yeah, no, it was Cody.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
So I want to give the two of them MVP. The episode, Rex and Cody. I wanted to give it just to Rex, but that was before I realized Cody was in the episode.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel like I have this weird like. I mean, everybody loves Rex, obviously, and people like Cody too. But I have this weird, like, sort of unfair, like, vendetta. Not a vendetta, but, like, I feel I like Cody less just because I know he ends up executing Order 66 and kills Jedi. I'm like, it's not his fault. Yeah. But, like, I think Rex is cooler because he manages to shake it off and, like, you know, he's like... Rex is just the coolest. I love Rex, you know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, this is definitely a like. I agree. They're both MVP of this episode. I unfairly malign Cody in my mind because of that. Because he's the one in Revenge of the Sith who gets the order initially, and he's like, "Yep, all right, let's go kill some Jedi," without hesitating. But yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so. Do you want to do just Rex and Cody, or just Rex, or what do you want?
Let's do Rex and Cody. I think that's reasonable. They worked as a pair in this episode.
They did. You know? It was the teamwork in that one scene that really like sold it for me.
Yes,
I think.
Yeah, it was a good duo.
The nonverbal communication, captured a clone, that kind of thing. So sweet. So there were, for as far as our stats for the episode, there's no main character kill count. No main character makes an actual kill. We did have, I think we had, what was it? Some clones get blown up, but they were blown up by droids. So I don't know if it doesn't really like droids aren't main characters.
Let's keep track of every single time a droid kills a clone.
Oh no. Yeah. So the next one, 200,000 with a million more well on the way. Oh man.
Fun.
So fun. Yep. No. So no kills, no Wilhelm screams. And we've already kind of talked about, but just like I want to just highlight real quick that like this episode, like when we talk about like every time we have the thing, we talk about how does this make Star Wars better? How does like this one episode contribute to the lore of Star Wars and contribute to making Star Wars a better, like how does it just raise the bar for all of Star Wars? I really think like the introduction of like the clones as people and not just as cogs in this war machine. That's what we get from this episode. Above anything is that these clones are individuals. They are not just like nameless faces. They are people. So
agreed, definitely.
Yep.
It's so exciting to like go back through this series after having seen all of this and like, you know, knowing all these little moments that like we didn't realize when we first saw them how significant they were, like the introduction of Rex and the introduction of Asajj Ventress and like just so many cool moments. It's like now with the benefit of hindsight, it's like oh, this is such a cool moment. Like it adds so much to it. Having been through the entirety of the Clone Wars already and Rebels and all the other follow-up stuff, it's just like, man, it's cool. Yeah. Also, one of the things I wanted to mention is I totally forgot that there's a clone named Chopper.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
I read through the synopsis before even watching the episode. I was like, Chopper? Dave, what are you doing? What is this?
It's also interesting because like there are so few Star Wars characters who share a name, even if it's just like a first name. Like most of the time, everybody's got a distinct, weird Star Warsy name. But yeah, I mean, but of course, it makes sense that people would have names in common. Like, but yeah, it's interesting. Like at a certain moment, I was like, I didn't remember how the episode like played out, and so I was like, is Chopper the clone who's the traitor? And I was gonna be like, are there two war criminals named Chopper in the Star Wars universe?
Yeah. But no.
Anyway.
No.
Yeah, well, Chopper's just an angry dude.
Yeah. Although he did technically break protocol.
That doesn't make him a war crimes.
But he broke protocol.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And Chopper the droid does nothing but break protocol, so.
That's true. But they're rebels. They're not the Grand Army of the Republic. So.
Yeah. Anyway.
It is. Jack, closing thoughts?
Rex, I love him. I love Rex. And I'm so excited to see Rex. Rex is my favorite. He's just the best. He's just like, the more we see of him throughout the Clone Wars, the more it's like, man, he's the best. He's noble and courageous and smart, and he cares. And I want to give him a hug.
I love Rex.
Yes. And then next week, we're going to be talking about Star Wars The Clone Wars, the feature film, and we're going to be introduced to Ahsoka. I mean, we already technically know Ahsoka canonically because of...
But not baby.
But the real first introduction to Ahsoka. Like this is Ahsoka as a young Jedi, as a young whippersnapper, being a troublemaker. It's great.
Yep. It is great. Yeah, I'm excited. So we're watching the Clone Wars movie.
Yes.
I've never watched the Clone Wars movie, but if I remember, didn't they like redo the movie as 3 episodes of the Clone Wars?
I think the way it worked was actually the movie itself was not originally going to be a movie. It was just an arc essentially. And at a certain point they were like, hey, we're spending a lot of money on this, and I think this has turned out pretty well. We should put it in theaters. And so they just grabbed one of the arcs and like threw them together you kind of edited it into a feature film and put it in theaters. Like it wasn't intended to be a film initially. So I think that's what the situation was.
Okay, that's what I've heard before. Okay. Cool. I'm excited.
Yes. This is your first time seeing this, yeah.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of I'm not going to have a lot of firsts as we're going through this. So it's fun to kind of get to watch something new for the first time in Star Wars.
Yes, exciting. Yeah, and as maligned as this movie has been throughout the years, because it's early Clone Wars. It's this team in their first season of working on this show, and they had to take something that wasn't designed to be a movie and turn it into a movie and put it into theaters, and so it got a not great reception because of that. But it still has a lot going for it, I think. It introduces us to some important characters, namely Ahsoka, and there are some great moments. We get some great Obi-Wan trolling and banter, and there's a lot to like about this. I think you'll enjoy it. Especially it's another one of those things where knowing what you know now and having watched all the Clone Wars, it's fun to go back and see these early moments again. So yeah.
Awesome, Jack. We did it.
It's been a fun time. We did it. So thank you everybody for listening to us again, rambling on about various things. Join us next time if you'd like, if you're feeling it, when we'll be talking about the feature film Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to getting to talk to you again next week, Sam.
Yes, sir.
May the Force be with you all.
May the Force be with you. Love you, dude.
Love you too. Night, everybody. Night.
Bye.
All right, cut the chatter. Roger, Roger.